Hi, Aude, your INFJ lawyer, and welcome back to my channel where we talk about personal development and everything related to an independent and meaningful life. Around me and pretty much everywhere, I see lots of women falling for unavailable men over and over again. And I mean smart, intelligent, grown-up women, and having a series of relationships that leaves them every single time heartbroken and a little more disheartened. If this pattern is all too familiar, in this video I will explain why you're attracted to the same unavailable man, what to do about it, and spare you from falling into the same dysfunctional scenario, wasting your precious time in the pursuit of whole hopeless relationship. And I'm not talking only about women here. So many men I know are also suffering from the loneliness resulting from short and meaningless encounters. And if I will be talking more from a female point of view, this video also very much concerns men. Besides, I will also touch on how love gurus and some relationship coaches, under the excuse of helping you finding Mr. Right, actually nurture the underlying cause of the loneliness further, keeping you stuck in the same pattern. But before we dive in, please subscribe to that channel to receive notifications every time a new video comes out. And if you want to work with me privately, the details are in the comments below. So this is the first video I'm ever doing about relationship and dating, but I've decided to broach the subject as I see way too many women suffer from this pattern of unavailable man attraction. And I've been there myself. I really think that the current trend of feminism surrounding marketing messages, Hollywood culture, and dating apps have really distorted the basics and to a certain extent the essence of dating and romantic interactions. Way too many people are making money out of the pen, dragging you along, playing on a very legitimate hope of finding the true love and companionship. So why so many women are attracted to unavailable men? Well, I think there is a basic in here. The unavailable man triggers a deep emotional wound still affecting the little girl that did not receive daddy's loves or validation. And this little girl, she is still trying to get that blessing, the confirmation that daddy loved her. You got to understand that as long as the wound has not been healed, the little girl is still running the show of the grown-up woman's romantic choices and behavior without the latter even realizing it. And through this attraction to the wrong person, the woman, the little girl, is really pursuing a quest of her own self-worth. She hopes to meet through the validation of the other sex or the same sex, depending on your preferences. That is why it is very important to address the original wound than getting a bunch of techniques that will never work as long as the basics are not here, are not fixed. The woman who has not received enough attention during her childhood from her daddy usually, but it could be from a carer, will often be attracted to the unavailable man, aka daddy, which is a familiar concept. And maybe this is the only one she has ever known. And she's doing it in a hope of changing the narratives that made her suffer all her life. So in my video, Decide What You Want in Life, I explain more about the idea of validation seeking and resulting codependence. So I invite you to go back to this video because I want to stay on track of the subject. You also have to realize that because of the original wound and the familiarity of the concept, the unavailable man becomes a subconscious trigger that acts as a powerful attraction tool precisely because of the unattended wound. I never had daddy's full attention. And this is the perfect illustration of being under a spell. In this case, the spell doesn't come from the object of the attraction, but from the wound of the woman and its resulting programming. The first thing to understand as a woman or even as a man, if you're repeatedly attracted to unavailable partners, you're basically unconscious and unaware. Your behavior could be dictated by a deeply ingrained program that does not serve you in any way. This is not your fault in any way, dear one. That was a coping and adapting mechanism you learned while growing up to face the environment that was around you. So the first stage is really to become aware of what's happening. So I would say that every time you are acting according to a certain way, according to a certain pattern, getting the same result there's a programming. Lots of program you can see around the internet, love gurus, relationship coach, precisely make a profit out of that wound and subconscious desperation to sell women or men tricks, scenarios, text, and little manipulation games to get the guy or get the girl. In my humble opinion, these programs and relationship gurus are making a profit on your vulnerability, and by telling you what to do to get the guy, what to text him or how to behave, they actually take you away further from a successful relationship, as they precisely feed on your sense of insecurity and unworthiness. Basically, and from what I've been able to personally experience, they teach you how to adapt and bend over backwards to attract relationships that do not correspond to you. And also they get it all upside down, because really, being in a great relationship is not about what you do, but it's more about becoming the best version of yourself. Get to know who you really and authentically are. These so-called techniques only takes you further down the rabbit hole of your wound to more disappointments and disillusion. They even create an addiction through entertaining false hope. They play on a combination of your perceived inadequacies and you getting a small high every time you get the attention of a guy or a girl using some kind of techniques. And this will turn you in an endless love addict and consumer of useless techniques, or get you to the other end of the spectrum, being so disappointed with the whole thing that you give up and on your love life, which I don't think is a good solution either. Just remember that you are more profitable if you are unhappy and discontent than happy and fulfilled where you want to be. The first BS that women are conditioned to think is that the way to get an available man's attention, aka that is love, in this world is to be sexually available. We're literally inundated by this message all around, through advertisement, through Hollywood culture. And then again, through all these courses about communication, dressing, behaving, and whatever the crap you should be doing, saying, or looking to be in a great relationship. And I'm not saying here that you should improve the way you clothe or your diet or whatever, but there are tons of good books or free YouTube tutorial to do so. Now, coming back about your mind, think about our mind is playing us a trick. I want this guy to love me, and we get immediately turned on by the ever elusive man. So what happened? Deep down, there is a knowledge that we cannot get the guy, which is even more exciting. This is the case, as mentioned, you can be sure, you're under a programming. And this programming is a kind of dysfunction of the brain. As soon as somebody is unavailable, danger, danger, it triggers an adrenaline responses that make us become sexually excited. All the little techniques of texting and what to do, what to say in the world won't change that. And to that extent, if somebody is available and presents no challenge, then you don't get attracted. The man who loves us, who is safe, is boring. Sounds familiar? So instead of starting with the same beginning, hoping for a different outcome, let's start with a different beginning. First of all, and as I mentioned, acknowledging that you're acting under programming. As I said, a repetitive pattern leading to the same painful results. And this is the first step towards consciousness and taking responsibility to unwire this program from your mind. And this is very much an inside job, which has absolutely nothing to do with what you should be saying or doing to attract the guy or the girl or reconnect with your ex, but everything to do with reconnected with who you are. And suddenly, of course, it's not so attractive anymore. It requires discipline, efforts, and time to disconstruct a program. It is not necessarily sexy, fun, and can either appear counterproductive, but I promise to you, when you go into this path, you get results faster. Even if it looks daunting and long and boring, it's completely different. I can tell you from personal experience, I've tried both ways, the doing and the being, and the results are without no comparisons. To start with new beginning, interact with men who meet your values rather than turning you on right away. And be logical and analytic about the whole thing. I know that we are conditioned to think that being logical is not as romantic as acting out on one's emotions, but running like a headless chicken, directed by one's unresolved childhood wound to be heartbroken and disappointed, is not romantic. It's not fair to you, your environment, And even it's not fair to these unavailable partners. This is very much the Cinderella's alienated scenario, whereby you're looking for a savior. And the Cinderella's Prince Charming is probably the biggest relationship scam ever invented. And the worst of it is childhood fairy tale. So we're pretty much ingrained with this scam from an early age. That's how bad it is. On the psychological side of things, when we are referring to this unhealthy pattern, we're describing pretty much a codependent scenario where you are very much attuned to the other's perceived expectations rather than your own. It goes a little like this. I will convince him I'm the right person for him. I will be so giving and so nice that he will need me and never leave me. But this is controlling, conditional, manipulative, and it does not work in a long term. This is very much exhausting and frustrating, and each such relationship eats at your integrity and your soul. Because you're susceptible to your programming, my advice is to stay out of the dating scene while you're reconnecting with the essence of you. I'm not going to lie to you, getting out of a programming is an arduous and difficult task. It's not fun and it's not intuitive. It's very much getting from your reptilian brain to the prefrontal cortex part of your brain. And if you can't really express yourself or even know exactly who you are, it is better to stay alone for a while, to self-connect, understand what you want in life, your emotions and how to manage them, learn to define your boundaries and stand up for yourself. The goal is to shape a life that corresponds to you. And what I mean by that is to have interests, hobbies, a work, a group of friends that nourish you. And if this is not the case at the moment, then I suggest that you start taking the steps, how little they are, to build your world progressively. It is much more productive to stay alone and work to know yourself than going from one relationship to another. So of course, on this point, it is very helpful to be in touch with yourself and know who you are deeply, know your values and your emotions. In my video, How to Speak Up With, I share a few techniques to reconnect with yourself. I have also throughout my videos little nuggets, because I do think that the very essence and the very basics to a fulfilling life, whatever you mean by that, is first to reconnect with yourself and coming back home. When you come back to the dating game, date men that don't turn you on right away. Are they likely to trigger the 40 program? Date a guy who is interesting, curious, has potential, and don't put him in a friend zone, but learn to appreciate his qualities for what they are and be yourself no matter what. Always in a nice way, of course. So you don't build a relationship based on somebody you're not. And if things do not work out, it's gonna be easier to walk away. And probably at the beginning, you might have to walk away from a certain number of guy. If you're dating Mr. Sexually Crazy Hot kind of guy, you're going to be again in an alternate state and focus on ways to please him instead of having him to please you. And no amount of dating advice, as I said, will be able to compensate for this dysfunctional scenario. But believe me, once you reconnect and appreciate who you truly are, your taste in men will change anyway. The prerequisite for a woman is to start from the mind. So the idea is, I don't know whether I want to have sex with him, but he's an interesting guy and I want to know him better. You get a heart to the guy, he does things for you, he does acts for you and not only words, which in turn create appreciation and trust, and your energy will shift progressively to sexual attraction. But then you already have established a bond with the guy. Generally speaking, do not go where you are not wanted. So whenever you date somebody and you think things are going well, but you don't get really a response from the other side, don't insist. Let go and walk away. More generally speaking, do not ever renounce your soul, your very core, to stay with somebody, boyfriend or friend. And men do not bond with a woman that is too easy, and that is old-fashioned knowledge. It doesn't mean that you have to play hard to get or be a bitch. It means that you need to know yourself and your values and the basics of what's happening between a man and a woman when there is attraction. Physiologically, a man bonds when his testosterone is high, and what stimulates his testosterone is feeling of success. When a man feels successful, he feels great. And there is a very bad press about testosterone, which is another myth worth debunking. People associate testosterone with aggressive behavior, but this couldn't be further from the truth. When a man pledges himself to earn your attention and love, his testosterone levels are off the charts. When a man is aggressive, grumpy, his testosterone levels are low. Men do not bound if a woman does everything for him. There is no more room for a man to give to you. He has nothing to earn and there is no motivation. If you give everything to a man, you're making him weak and lowering his testosterone. You basically allow him to become a lousy, despotic king. Men have to earn their way or they become spoiled brats and suffer from low self-esteem. Men are wired to do the difficult stuff and earn the love. And this is their hero meat. This is the challenge they like to thrive on. So women, it's completely different. They have to stay connected and grounded to themselves to feel they are worth it and deserve it. In other words, women don't need to earn their daddy's love or any man for that matter. Only need to love and appreciate themselves. And this is the female hero journey to inhabit her very feminine qualities to tame the wild aspect of the male. We can see this playing in Beauty and the Beast, for example, where the connection is very progressive and she tames the beast by being a feminine self, not doing anything for him. She just is by her own very presence. How to love yourself or what it means can be the subject of many videos, but in a nutshell, I think that loving yourself is really to know yourself, the bad and the good, completely accept it, take responsibility for who you are, being able to stick healthy boundaries. And this is a prerequisite for self-respect. Finally, keep on improving yourself, not for others or because you need to prove anything to anybody, but for the sake of who you are and to stay connected with your feminine essence. And it will, of course, benefit others. So as a woman, your job is to receive and appreciate and then give back. Giving back is the highest form of gratification. It's what makes a woman feel good. It is unconditional giving, devoid of expectations and manipulations, but it requires that you receive first. When you give to get, you train a man to be weak, your feminine qualities are diminished, and you're no longer attractive to a man. And when you give back, because you've learned to receive first, you embody your feminine qualities at their maximum potential. Okay, let me give you a basic example of a classic scenario of the first date, of letting a man paying for your dinner. And I think it's a very important bonding ritual. So the man feels he's doing something to earn while you reciprocate with your appreciation, and he's enjoying it as his feeling is making a difference, an impression. And if he does not feel he's making a difference, he's not going to bond to you. A lot of women feel that if they let a man pay, they're obligated to have sex. But you're not trading sex for gratification. You are rewarding him with your feminine qualities. You're emotional, perceptive, caring, and appreciative. And if you are not completely sure about having a dinner, then you can have a drink. It's not so much about the money than the principle of the exchange. It's doing something for you and you reciprocate with your appreciation. Well, all you need to know is to show real and heartfelt appreciation about the moment and the shared experience. And your emotion is what will reward him. But don't fake it. And you are completely entitled to realize after a dinner, as he is actually, that a man may not correspond to what you're looking for. You may even have a bad time. And you're perfectly, as he is, entitled to dismiss or not reconnect and do it in a polite way. Dating apps have created a romantic burnout based on a string of disappointing relationships. Take your time to know yourself and what you want and know a man before you commit or jump in anything. Don't go into this consuming consuming market of, oh, the choice is so big that, okay, as soon as something doesn't go well, we jump to another. You're going to lose yourself first, and you don't give anybody the chance to show who they really are. Knowing yourself and taking the time and being grounded with yourself doesn't mean that you don't need a man or companionship. Needs create desire. Women telling me that they don't need a man are subconsciously closing the door to building a relationship. I guess my point here is that it is okay to show vulnerability and express your needs. It is even the gateway to allow somebody to feel these needs, but you don't need anybody to complete you. That's what I mean. Not renounce to who you are for the sake of being in a relationship or the material security. Always keep your integrity no matter what. I truly believe this is the only way to have a great relationship and a fulfilling life. Do not renounce for who you are for anything. Well, thank you for watching, and please put a comment and let me know what appeared to be beneficial in this video. And let me know also if you want me to talk more about relationship and dating, which I'm happy to do if that helps. And until next time, stay conscious and connected. Bye.